8. We are live here on Fireside Yankees. My name is Ryan Garcia, and I know that usually I have the intro and the formalities and the, hey, what's up, guys? How's it going? Hope you're doing well. Hope everything's good. But I got to say this, guys. We might have something happening tonight that's not Yankees related, but Kyle Tucker related. Because if you'll look at the screen on here, the New York Yankees don't know what I just played. Yeah, I don't know why a video just played for me. Sorry. But Steve Cohen has just fired this tweet. Let me know when you see smoke. And that is something you don't, that's not something you say. This is not something you say if you're not about to sign Kyle Tucker. And maybe this is a guess. Maybe this is me saying this because, I don't know, like I'm just saying it to say it. But this is not a thing you say when you are trying to, for lack of better terms, not hype up. Like if you are not hyping, if you're doing this to lose out on Kyle Tucker, you're the worst. Like you are the worst. You are the worst. Like I hate to say it, but you are the worst if that happens. So I know that's a very weird way for us to open. It's not the way we usually open, but that's the way we're going to open right now because, again, it seems as if the New York Mets are trending towards getting Kyle Tucker, or at least that's the hint I take from this. There is no way that's not the hint you take from it. I don't think there's any other way this can be viewed. There is no ulterior meaning. Like, is there anything else? Oh, it could be a Pope joke. It could be a Pope joke. But if you do not end up getting Kyle Tucker after tweeting this, that's a crazy thing to tweet. I'm sorry. I think they're going to end up getting him. That's me, though. I can't lie. Cohen's got balls. Yeah, Zachary, I agree. I think this is you don't do that unless you're a confident man. You don't do that unless you're a confident man because you set yourself up to get absolutely embarrassed. Like, I would put money on this. And that's just me. That's the way I interpret it. My interpretation is not a fact. It's just not. Like, you just can't tell me that. I can't tell you guys that my interpretation is objectively correct. This is just how I view it. And we'll talk a little bit about what this could mean for the Yankees, whether the fact that Steve Cohen, where the Mets signing him would affect. Like, I want to go through all these scenarios where we can sit here and talk about like what the opportunity cost is for these teams and where I expect them to go after this. But let's start by talking. Let's look at each of the Mets, Dodgers, and Blue Jays rosters because I think, as it was pointed out here by Friday's stations, and if you're here, say what's up. Say what's up, and we'll shout you out. I'm sorry again. This is a very abrupt way. I saw this tweet as I was pressing go live, so I was like, "Oh my God, this could happen." So if you're here, I really appreciate it. Let me shout out everybody in the chat here real quick. We've got Jack, we've got Joe, my guy, L Train. We've got other chats in here that were from earlier. MLB Channel guy, John Bear, John Bloom. We've got Zachary. We've got everyone here. I appreciate you guys. We got a lot of people here. Tyler's here. Let's kind of talk. Sorry. Oh man, I'm all over the place. Oh man. Oh, throat is shot, fellas. I'm sorry. My throat is just shot. Let's talk about this because I think we can all agree, hey man, what are the Blue Jays or Dodgers going to do if they don't end up with Kyle Tucker? What would the Mets do if they don't end up with Kyle Tucker? So the first thing I'll say is, I heavily doubt that the New York Mets are going to pivot towards Kyle Tucker, towards Cody Bellinger if they miss out on Kyle Tucker. So I believe that the New York Yankees do not have to worry about the Mets acquiring Cody Bellinger. And yeah, that's kind of where I'm at there. But if you look on here, and we're going to pull up roster resource, the Blue Jays, on the other hand, it's a little bit different. The Blue Jays are a little bit different here, where I do think there's a little bit of a poor fit for the Blue Jays outfield-wise. Look at what they have in their outfield. Addison Barger playing right, Anthony Santander playing left, and Dalton Varsho playing center. Dalton Varsho is a center fielder. He's the only center fielder on the roster that can reliably play there and start every day. Miles Straw is a bench piece. Nathan Lucas is their fifth outfielder. Santander is an underwater contract. You can't just kick him to the sun. That's a really poor look. George Springer is obviously a really good player. Joe, it's funny when I type in Fangraphs, Anthony Volpe is the first page that pops up just because I visit his page the most, which is, I think, hilarious. But when looking at this here, The Yankees, I don't think have to be worried about the Blue Jays, because I think the Blue Jays, again, have too much outfield depth to then pay $30 million over 6 years to sign Bellinger. That's my guess. Now, when you look at the Dodgers roster is a much cleaner fit. And yes, Varsho is a free agent next year, but I don't believe you can sign Cody Bellinger to be your long-term center fielder. That's just my opinion, Joe. Like, I could be wrong, but I don't think you can do that. And if you're the Blue Jays, would you rather pay Bellinger $30 million a year for 6 years or pay Dalton Varsho? And if you are to pay Cody Bellinger, then you have to trade an outfielder. You have to go into the market with the market knowing you have to trade an outfielder, and you're likely not going to sign Dalton Varsho. So when you eventually have another center field issue, that's, again, I think the Blue Jays are best suited to just bring back Dalton Varsho in that scenario, but again, I could be wrong. Now, you look at the Dodgers. This fit is more seamless here. Andy Pages can play center field. Edman's not a starting player. You can move him to the bench or play him at second. The Dodgers need a second baseman situation. If they platoon Hai-Sung Kim and Tommy Edman, I think they're in a good spot. If we look at Tommy Edman and Hai-Sung Kim's stats, Tommy Edman against lefties, I know wasn't great this year, but he's palatable against lefties is kind of my understanding. 89 WRC plus. Wasn't a great year against lefties, but good power. That batting average on balls in play is not sustainable, too low. Career 118 WRC plus. Hai-Sung Kim against righties, I believe, was better against lefties. Okay, well, that's something. Okay, well, I guess he was better against lefties than against righties, but he's better against righties than Edman is. I mean, Edman's pretty miserable. I guess in his career he isn't. Maybe they're better suited getting a second baseman. Maybe that's just what the Dodgers should do. Maybe they should just get a second baseman. But point with this is that the Dodgers can very easily get away from the Dodgers can very easily bring in Bellinger. They can option Hai-Sung Kim. They've got Rojas, Ibanez, and Call as bench pieces for the outfielder infield. The Dodgers are the cleanest fit for Cody Bellinger of these two teams if the Mets would have signed Tucker. And there is like a logical reason to say, okay, that concerns me. But I also believe it ignores the context that, well, the Los Angeles Dodgers seem to only really be opportunistic about Kyle Tucker, not necessarily uber aggressive to land his services. And so if the New York Yankees have a 5-year deal at $150 million on the table, I don't believe the Dodgers are going to exceed that number. Because if they weren't willing to go to 6 years for Kyle Tucker, and if they made a 6-year, $40 million a year offer with opt-outs after every year, they're probably getting Kyle Tucker. They're not willing to go to 6 years for Kyle Tucker. I don't believe they're going to be willing to go to 6 years for Cody Bellinger. So, logic-wise, the Dodgers make the most sense versus the Blue Jays, but the Dodgers have other needs. Notably the infield. I actually just figured it out in real time that their second base fit is still pretty poor, or their second base situation is still rather poor, even if they were to move Edman into a second base platoon. So they might still need a second baseman. I don't believe the Dodgers are going to be aggressive for Bellinger. That's just kind of where I'm at with this. And I don't think the Yankees offer is low enough to be worried about another team sniping him. But that's just my opinion. Now the Mets roster. The Mets roster is another roster that has a very clean and obvious fit. Carson Bench can move from left field to center field. Tyrone Taylor is easily the worst outfielder listed here. You can make a very strong argument that you'd rather have Tommy Edman and Alex Call than Tyrone Taylor and, Luis Angel Acuna, right? So Bellinger's the Mets outfield is the worst outfield of this group. We look at projections. We can look at projected team. We'll just open this link at any time. Projected left field WAR. The Mets are 0.9. They are very low on this list. The Dodgers are not high on this list at 1.8, but that is way better than 0.9. Like the Dodgers, the Mets are not projected to get one win out of left field. So I do think the Yankees shouldn't be worried about Bellinger leaving. Sorry. Even if, and I'm going to find a way to get like a cough button at this point. I think there is a way to mute yourself with this stream deck. I'll figure that out. But even if there isn't I guess for lack of better words, even if Bellinger is somewhere else, I don't believe you got to worry about it. And again, I could be wrong. I could be wrong. I just figured out how to put a mute button, by the way. Yep. But I don't believe the Yankees are going to have to be worried about that. Now, when you look at the latest in the Yankees universe, we'll focus on the Yankees until Tucker signs. It looks like he could sign during this stream, but we'll see. The Yankees have been talking to the Brewers about a trade for Freddie Peralta. That's according to Mark Feinsand. The Framber Valdez checked-in report, some preliminary interest from the Yankees. It's according to John Heyman. Unsure if that's just a, hey, man, how you doing? What's up? Cool. Dope. Seems more like a backup plan if Bellinger doesn't sign, and considering that I consider the odds of Bellinger signing to be like 75-ish%, and I consider the Yankees' odds at Framber, even if they were to miss out at Bellinger, not above 50%, this is a pretty low probability outcome. Then the Paul Blackburn signing became official. That's according to the team. So nothing really cooking outside of the Peralta stuff, which will be the next part of this conversation here. Freddie Peralta is someone who looks like he's going to get traded. And every time you hear people talk about him getting traded, every time you hear about the conversation about whether he'll get traded or not, it seems to be a situation where the consensus opinion is that Freddie Peralta will get traded. It's not a lock, but it's the common opinion that he will get traded, or the expectation. If the Yankees are to trade for Freddie Peralta, they are getting one of the best pitchers in the game. He's not an ace, but he is a top 20-ish starting pitcher in this league. And I look at the New York Yankees, especially in a scenario where Tucker ends up in the National League. And if you pull down Freddie Peralta, I think he's a better starter than Dylan Cease. If you pull down Cody Bellinger, assuming that the Blue Jays don't sign Bichette, you've brought in a better position player than they've signed at all this offseason. I think if you trade for Peralta, you sign Bellinger, and the Blue Jays just don't end up with Kyle Tucker. I'd even say this if they ended up with Bo Bichette. I think the Yankees are the better team right now, if that happens. We'll see. But Freddie Peralta is an important part of this conversation because I believe acquiring Freddie Peralta is possible. I believe acquiring Freddie Peralta is something the Yankees are equipped to do. Now, the thing that should worry you about the New York Mets, and this is tied with Tucker and tied with Peralta, the two teams that are perceived to be in on Framber Valdez are the Mets and the Orioles. The Orioles and the Mets being interested in Framber Valdez is something that is of interest because if the Mets were to sign Framber Valdez, you would assume that takes him out of Freddie Peralta. If the Orioles were to sign Framber Valdez, again, you would assume that that takes them out of Freddie Peralta. If the Mets sign Kyle Tucker, that should also take them out of Framber Valdez, which would firmly put them in the Freddie Peralta race. So if we want to be real about where you should hope he ends up going if you want the Yankees to be as good as humanly possible, the best case scenario is probably that he ends up on the Dodgers, but I do understand the argument being the best case scenario is that he ends up on the Mets, that you trade for Peralta, and you get Bellinger back, that you just get Peralta despite the fact the Mets are going to be in on Peralta without a clear free agent alternative to spin towards. Now, obviously, the best case scenario would be just signing Tucker, but that's not realistic. And if it's to that short-term high AAV deal, there are some opportunity costs that come with this. For example, if we're mapping out the AAV, if the Mets have a $50 million offer on the table, which I believe there are no deferrals in this offer, so it is straight up $50 million a year in present-day value, that is what the luxury tax hit would be. Given that the Yankees and the Mets would be over the fourth threshold, whichever team signed him, the Yankees are not going to sign him. This is just a hypothetical. The Yankees would have to pay a 110% tax on that signing. Now, if you do the math on that, 1.10 times 50, and you add that to 50, and you add that to the original number of 50, the real cost of this signing would be $105 million for the Mets. Or for the Yankees, any team over the fourth threshold, the Cohen threshold. That is a lot of money. Bellinger, if he signs at the reported cost of $31 million at the 110% tax rate, add that onto $31 million, the true cost is $65.1 million. So the difference in cost is about $19 million in terms of free agent money, in terms of the money the player receives, but in terms of the money leaving, the money out versus money in, the money flow, there is a $39.9 million difference in money flow. That is going to matter to any organization, whether it's the Mets, whether it's the Yankees, whether it's the Dodgers. The Yankees, unlike the Dodgers or Mets, can effectively say, hey, Cody Bellinger on the Yankees is going to be a 120 OPS plus player, a 3.5 to 4 win player. I believe Tucker would get a boost from Yankee Stadium that he would not get from Dodger Stadium or Citi Field. I believe Kyle Tucker would be around a 5 to 5.5 win player, even if he's never actually been a 5-win player in his career. So, this is all to say, the Yankees and the Mets are in this, or the Yankees are in the spot where you are evaluating the cost difference between about 1 win, about 1 to 1.5 wins. The cost of that is about 10 to 15, maybe even $20 million, depending on your evaluation of the player. So all of this is to come back and say that the Yankees are saving $20 million in this transaction on baseball money, $40 million in this transaction in actual business money. You can understand why they don't believe that Kyle Tucker is worth $40 million more than Cody Bellinger for 2026. But you could also make the argument that Bellinger, in and of its own right, he's not worth $65 million in the first place. So if you're going to be making a underwater contract offer, a contract that you cannot really trade, is essentially the layman's terms of this, that you should go get Kyle Tucker. So I personally believe Kyle Tucker was the better get for the Yankees. And it's disappointing he won't sign with the Yankees because the Yankees do not want to make the offers to him and have never really had any contact with him. It's not as if they've tried and failed. They did not try with Tucker. For a long-term deal, if he signs like a 9-year, $33, $34 million a year offer, that kind of offer or pay structure is way more desirable to me, I think. And it's a structure that I would be upset at the Yankees for not offering because it's $3 million more towards your payroll and about $6.5 million more towards cash flow. And yes, you're paying for additional years, but you're paying 5 years for Bellinger anyways. You might have a player option. Like there are other things that matter. So again, Cody Bellinger in this conversation, it is a shame that he's going to get a lot of flack for not being Kyle Tucker because he's a good ball player in his own right. And, I also think it's a shame that he's going to get kind of dragged for negotiations because what he is doing, to me at least, is not unethical, nor is it unreasonable. What he's doing is reasonable considering what the Yankees are doing. The Yankees are not interested in Kyle Tucker. They're not really interested in Bo Bichette. So, that's kind of my spiel. Let's get into questions now. I apologize. I've been ignoring your questions. I just kind of want to give you guys my Kyle Tucker, Cody Bellinger spiel, kind of run down the Freddie Peralta stuff real quick, give you kind of my initial, thoughts on like, hey, I think if Tucker goes to the Mets, then the Yankees are going to be in a weird spot where they can't, where like the Mets can more aggressively or should more aggressively push for Freddie Peralta, things of that nature. So yeah, I'm gonna take a quick sip. Let's get to your questions. How legit is Tucker's not love towards baseball? I feel like he's just quiet. Yeah, I think the way to explain this, it's a little weird. Trying to find a way to explain this. Kyle Tucker is somebody who just doesn't seem obsessive about baseball. I don't believe you need to be obsessive about baseball to be good at baseball. Think about how hard it is to be a good baseball player. Think about how long he's been playing baseball for. He's been playing since he was in high school. So this guy's played baseball for a while. I'd be really stunned to sit here and kind of say that like he doesn't love baseball. I just don't think he's obsessed with it. It's a job. And you don't have to love your job. You don't have to be obsessive with your job or love the craft to be good at your job. Some people just do it to make money, and that's completely fine. I'm sure there are a lot of people here in this world that or maybe it's you personally, who they would rather do something else, but what they're doing currently makes them more money, and it's about making money. Weston family, which Tucker loser is likeliest to steal Bellinger? So to kind of put a bow on the tie for the other one, I don't think Tucker's love for the game should be questioned any more than like 50% of the league's love for the game. He's a normal dude. He's just a guy who wants to make money playing baseball, doing his job. The same way everybody else does. Yeah. But for Weston family, to answer your question, thank you for the super chat, by the way. I think the loser most... Sorry, I keep coughing up a storm. I think the loser likeliest to steal Belly is... probably the Dodgers, just based on roster fit. the roster, I guess the Mets roster needs Bellinger more than the Dodgers roster. The Dodgers have a quality fourth outfielder in Alex Call. They have outfield depth in the minor leagues. So I guess that's the other thing. The Dodgers have a good amount of minor league prospects. So do they want Bellinger to be like financially committed money to the outfield and have like Teoscar Hernandez and Cody Bellinger both making money in the outfield? I don't know. So, I mean, Teoscar Hernandez and Cody Bellinger making money for the next 2 years blocks out outfield spots. And they do have guys who are like close enough to Major League ready where you can start kind of plugging them in for 2027 starts. So I guess that's part of this, right? I don't know if I think the Mets but the Mets also have this where like Carson Bench is here, but Tyrone Taylor's playing. Again, I think it's either the Dodgers or the Mets, but I don't think either team is particularly invested in giving out that much money to him. So, yeah, I don't know. I go back and forth with this. I go back and forth where I think it's not likely either of these teams jump in and pay that kind of money, and I believe it's unlikely. I think the Dodgers would probably make the most sense to like make an aggressive play for a free agent. Let's see. There's every possibility that the Yankees aren't all that interested in Bellinger, and they're making an offer to him they know he won't accept just to avoid the fans' ire. Let me break this down right now, Semper Constans. No team makes an offer to a player with that player. No team makes a good faith negotiation offer to a player without the intent of that player accepting it. Now you might go, well, Ryan, hey, that's not true. Some teams, like with Johnny Damon, the Red Sox made an offer to him after he had signed, but they did it to sit here and say, hey, we made an offer. The Yankees' offer to Cody Bellinger is an offer made that he could actually accept. So with that being said, because it's a legitimate offer, that I'm going to use the envelope again. We're going to use the envelope as a point of inference. Okay. Let's use the Johnny Damon situation because Johnny Damon had gotten a contract from the Red Sox after he had agreed to a deal with the Yankees in principle. The Yankees took a 5-year, $155 million offer and gave it to Cody Bellinger. Whether Bellinger rejected the offer or not is unknown. We do not know that detail. But Cody Bellinger could have accepted or rejected this deal. More importantly, Cody Bellinger did not have a verbal agreement with any other team given the fact that it's been almost 2 weeks and he still hasn't signed anywhere. If you offer a contract that a player is not supposed to accept, not expected to accept, not supposed to accept. I'm going to tell you. Brian Bashman, no, that's not how that works. You cannot compare the Kyoto to the same thing. Because just because you don't expect them to sign it does not mean you don't want them to sign it. Those are very different things. Want to sign? You don't make an offer to show face that a player can sign. You make an offer to show face that a player will not sign, does not sign, cannot sign, because they have a verbal agreement elsewhere. The Red Sox offer to Bregman was rumored to be an offer made following the conclusion of his free agency saga. That Scott Boras came up to the Red Sox and said, Alex Bregman is going to sign this deal with the Cubs. I'm just letting you know. And the Red Sox then made an offer of $165 million to Scott Boras. This offer is immediately deemed irrelevant because Scott Boras has already agreed in principle to an offer made to him by the Cubs. So, again, all of the legal loopholes here. Trent Grisham, they may not have expected him to take it. And the only reason they wouldn't have expected him to take the offer is because they believed he would reject it because they believed he was worth more on the open market. The reason you offer the qualifying offer is because you believe this player is worth 1 year, $22 million. And if they signed that contract, you would be happy. And as Mike D points out here, the Yankees were happy Grisham took the QO. They'd be scrambling right now with no center fielder. The Yankees would have to sign Harrison Bader, who I believe is a very poor free agent fit for the Yankees. Harrison Bader's OPS against left-handed pitching last year versus Grisham's OPS versus left-handed pitching last year, the gap shocked me. I really have always viewed Bader as a good hitter versus lefties because that's been his career-long trend, especially earlier in his career. But this past season, that was just not the case. Just not the case. Harrison Bader this past year against lefties had an OPS of 689. Trent Grisham had an OPS of 652 against lefties. Weighted on base average, 294 for Grisham, 302 for Bader. WRC plus, remember Bader played a little bit in Philadelphia, a little more hitter friendly. Bader 92, Grisham 88. That's a 4% difference in offensive production. Over the last 4 years, Harrison Bader has a sub 310 weighted on base average, meaning that Harrison Bader has been a below average hitter results-wise against lefties over the course of the last 4 years. I understand that Harrison Bader is a good player defensively. I don't think Harrison Bader sucks. But I think having another defense-first guy when third base is likely going to end up projecting to be below average in WRC plus or OPS plus, when shortstop is all but certainly going to end up with a below average OPS plus, and when the catching position could very easily have a below average OPS plus, you are in a situation where you might have 4 below average OPS plus players playing every single day except against lefties, where you'd have Rosario playing, who's an above average OPS plus guy against lefties. And even then, like, you take 50 games, anybody can suck for 50 games. So look at the COVID season, even in favorable matchups. So when it comes to Harrison Bader, I simply did not believe he was a good fit for this roster. I do not believe he's a good fit for this roster, nor do I believe going with Spencer Jones is a good idea either. I know that there's a lot of talk about Jones in the chat right now, and I understand Spencer Jones is a prospect who has tons of upside. I get it. But with that being said, he's a high strikeout player. The center field defense, I think, is good. But you have no idea how he's going to hold up in center field until he gets there. Furthermore, you have no idea how he's going to perform against lefties. You would still have to bring in a guy against righties to play, against lefties who's right-handed or left-handed. And when it comes to Dominguez, it's the same thing. So you'd have 2 outfielders who you need to platoon for against left-handed pitching. And that needs to be and that's the same thing you'd have to do at third base. You might have to do that at catcher. Like, that's 4 platoon positions potentially. No, like, that's not a logical way to build this roster. And I sit here and I say, yes, Dylan, good point. Further evidence that the Yankees see the QO as fair value for Grish is the level of comp pick specific to them. Other teams might risk it to get a high pick, but that's not the case here. Yeah, the Yankees had a qualifying offer on the table, and that was going to be a 4th-round pick that they were going to get. The value of a 4th-round pick isn't even in the same iota as a first. Like, there's just no, it's not close to the value of $22 million. It's not close. It's not close. So I simply don't believe that the New York Yankees gave him a qualifying offer to gamble for a 4th-round pick. And yes, Ryan Beck, it's true. The Mets have not confirmed signed Tucker. There's a tweet out there from Steve Cohen. I believe it's a tweet you make if you sign Kyle Tucker. If you're going to sign Kyle Tucker, I think he'll end up on the Mets, but that is not a done deal. That is not a done deal. He could end up on the Blue Jays. He could end up on the Dodgers. It is not a done deal. Let's keep answering some of your questions here. Jones played good defense all year last year. Who says he needs to platoon? They didn't platoon Jones last year. They didn't platoon Jones because he was playing minor league baseball. You're not trying to win baseball games down there. I know it sounds stupid. It sounds really stupid. And hear me out. And no, it has not been confirmed. There's no tweet. There's no confirmed. As things stand right now, it is 7:29 EST on January 15th. No reporter has tweeted that he's on the Mets. And Steve Cohen specifically said, I'll put this on the screen here, just so that we're all aware as to where we are with this. All right. Let me know when you see smoke. Should I make a fan's day? No, I'm joking. I'm just going to follow Steve Cohen. Yeah, let me know when you see smoke. That's the cryptic tweet. They're playing for a chip, but Brian Bashman, when you develop prospects, you're going to let your left hand, like Jason Dominguez in a platoon down there. You don't play Spencer Jones only against righties. You have to let him play against lefties as well. It's not that they didn't care at all about winning games, but they're not going to development is more important than winning at the minor league level. Teams prioritize development over winning. That is exactly how it goes. That is exactly how this goes. So I'm sorry if people don't feel that way, but that's how it goes. That's how it goes. Minor league teams, and I've spoken, I know this for a fact. I have interviewed prospects. I have asked them this question. I have interviewed prospects, and I've asked them this question. How do you balance winning and development? Development is important to them, so they're not going to platoon Spencer Jones, even if it gives them a better chance to win, to give some other right-handed 33-year-old. Like, they're not going to sit Spencer Jones against the lefty to play like Tim LeCastro. I know they don't have him in the organization anymore, but they're not going to do it to play Tim LeCastro. They're not going to do it to play Tim LeCastro. They'll do maybe sit Jones down for a day to give him some rest. But yeah. You do not do that with the intent of, again, like, development comes first. The Yankees playing Jones against lefties is not an indication that he can hit them. It's an indication that they want him to keep learning about it. Duke Ellis, that's a good, thank you. Brian Bastion, that's the Tim LeCastro of this current team. They weren't going to play Duke Ellis against lefties and sit Jones every single time with the intention of winning baseball games. Yes, he's not developing if you platoon him. Tucker getting more than Judge per year. Yes, I understand, but it's a shorter term deal. Like, it's not the same. It's a little bit different. But again, when it comes to Tucker, I think there's a spirited conversation to be had about the opportunity cost of Kyle Tucker and Cody Bellinger, depending on how you view things, right? So, we kind of broke down the overall cost, $105 million versus $65.1 million based on the reported AAV costs, factoring in the tax as well, which you have to pay if you're over the threshold. You have to pay by the difference of that. It would be a clean 50, I think, for the Yankees, and for the Mets, it'd be similar too. So, point is all this, like, there's a big gap in the amount of money you would have for 2026 roster planning. But also, you're giving up a second-round pick and a fourth-round pick. Or a fifth-round pick, sorry. So, you have to that's going to get baked into the cost as well. I know you hate that. I get it. I really do. Like, this is the side of baseball that is very unappealing to fans, but I still think is important to know so that you at least understand why teams do things, right? Like, I think it's important to know why and understand, even if you don't agree with it. I got to shout out my guy, Steve, who isn't in this chat, is a buddy of mine, we talk on Twitter frequently. He made a really good point about this. I was talking about, ranting about payroll, which I always do, because I'm a big believer in, like, go spend like the Dodgers, right? And I think, chat, you guys are aware of the fact I feel that way. But I also think it's important to understand why things are the way that they are, even if you don't agree with them. The cost for the Yankees is $20 million, a second and fifth round pick, and that is going to factor into your ability to trade prospects. Because if you know you have a full treasure chest of picks to utilize in the upcoming draft, then you can sit back and go, okay, I can trade an extra prospect. I can trade a Bryce Cunningham, who's my second-round pick from a couple years ago, because I'm gonna draft another second-round. I'm gonna get another second-round pick this upcoming draft. And the Yankees do well with second-round picks typically. They get pretty good prospects in these groups. I can kind of list off the Yankees' second-round picks when they do have them. They haven't had them every single year. Like 2023, I believe they didn't have it because they signed Carlos Rodon, so they didn't have a second-round pick that year. Yeah, let's look at second-round picks. And we'll look at these together. Look at these together. Under capture. See what we got. All right. Second-round picks here. So the cutoff I usually like looking at is like 2017-ish. Because like 2017 below, they were really bad at drafting at this point. They were really bad at drafting in 17. But you look at 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 24. Josh Bro's probably the worst player in this group. He's not going to be a big leaguer. Brendan Beck is probably going to end up making the big leagues, but he won't be an impact big leaguer. He kept blowing out his arm. Josh Smith's a pretty solid big leaguer. 7 wins above replacement. It's a pretty good big leaguer. Drew Thorpe got hurt immediately, but you traded him for Juan Soto. You got value from this. Bryce Cunningham, TBD. But there were two in your last 5 second-round picks. You've got an everyday big leaguer. You've got a potential back-end starting pitcher who did get hurt, but you got Juan Soto out of this. And he was then traded for Dylan Cease. So the league did value Drew Thorpe. And you got value out of that second-round pick. Cunningham, we'll see. Beck, we'll see. But my point in all this is that your second-round picks have some value. Your second-round picks can be something for you. You want to look at guys who were picked fifth-round picks. Pretty sure their fifth-round pick pool kind of sucks. because they usually don't have these as well, right? Yeah, they don't have a lot of 5th round picks. That's the first big part of all of this. Big leaguer, not a good big leaguer, but a big leaguer. But big leaguer kept getting hurt, not a good big leaguer. Probably not going to be a big leaguer. Got hurt, would have been a big leaguer. Could be a big leaguer still. TBD. And Court Jackson, like he got drafted late for reasons that we're all aware of at this point. But 4th round picks, and also pool money. This is pool money too. 4th round picks for the Yankees. Don't know. Traded for Slater. Traded for Bird. Probably a big leaguer. Not a big leaguer. Not a big leaguer. Not a big leaguer. Trying to see. Let's see what other picks we can look at here. Let's say. I think the picks the Yankees do the best with are like 8th round picks. The Yankees' 8th round pick pool is insane, right? Oh, no, 7th. Well, they got Warren out of this, but 7th round picks. And even Matt Hewer should be pretty good. Is it 9th round pick or 6th round picks? That's what I'm looking at. They're 6th round picks. Sorry, I'm just looking at drafts with you guys and trying to get you guys to understand what I'm trying to say here. Big leaguer. Would be a big leaguer if he stopped getting hurt. Could be a big leaguer. Traded for Ryan McMahon. Could be a big leaguer. TBD. Don't know what Rory Fox is going to look like, but there's some pretty good reviews about him. But there's probably going to be another 2 or 3 big leaguers here. And I understand it's not really like, oh my God, you got a big leaguer out of this group, but big leaguers are big leaguers, man. Like it's hard to find big leaguers. Anywho, yeah, let's do round 12, Cam. Let's do round 12. Get picks. Big leaguer, really good big leaguer. Kept getting hurt. I don't think he's signed. I think Brady Rose signed. Traded for Weathers. Probably going to be a big leaguer. We'll see. But, anywho, the Yankees draft pool matters. Because a lot of these guys want to look at them as like prospects. A lot of these guys end up being like top 15-ish prospects in the organization at some point. So you have to like throw in that 5th round pick and look at it as like a top 15-ish prospect potentially in the Yankee organization. Their 2nd round picks usually end up being like one of their 10 best prospects at some point. So think about trading for like Freddie Peralta and your ability to trade like a number 10 and number 15 in your system and replenish that. You've traded a Dylan Lewis who is like a number 8 in your system. Jones is about a number 15 in your system. Point is like your ability to like push these prospect trades is really hard. It's really hard to push these trades. It's really hard to keep doing it when you don't have picks. And you didn't have all your picks the year prior. I think you kept all your picks going into the 24 season. You kept all your picks going into 22. You didn't keep all your picks going into 23. The Yankees kind of need a reset year for picks. So, again, I just, with Tucker, there is a price that goes beyond money. So, let's say the opportunity cost here is trading for Freddie Peralta and signing Cody Bellinger. But for Tucker, would you rather have Kyle Tucker and Luis Heel or Freddie Peralta and Cody Bellinger is kind of the question in chat here. Yeah, because Peralta's making about $8 million. Like the gap in money is like $12 million at that point. Like that doesn't really like that doesn't matter at that point. Actually, this is a good poll. Sell Rice at the ATA. I'm not selling Rice. It's a good question. Bellinger and Peralta or Heel plus Tucker is kind of my question. Yeah. Let's see what I'd like to know what chat thinks. I asked this question to my dad earlier. How much IFA money do we think we end up spending? We are screwed with that. Like that's not great. That is a really bad situation for this year. Like they're not gonna. I think they're not. I think they're ending up spending like $5 million, and that doesn't roll over. You have to spend that money, so they're gonna have to like spend that money somehow. Is the Ryan Weathers trade Frankie Montas 2.0? I don't think so. It could be. I don't think so because Frankie Montas is a more stout. Like the comparisons, kind of immediately. Sorry. Thank you for the super chat first and foremost, but I think they're different players, right? Like I think they're different players is just a big point for me, right? Like they're different players, so yeah. It is possible this trade just burns and crashes for the Yankees, but yeah. You could trade IFA money, but it's not valuable anymore because everyone already signed their deals, and even the value of like helping them make that deal. It was Franklin Gutierrez for the Guardians, which is a guy who would be like a back-end top 30 for us. How do I put this? It's kind of like if the Yankees were to acquire... If the Yankees were to trade Alan Facundo to be able to sign Wandy Oxygen I would rather have Wandy Oxygen than Alan Facundo, right? So you get what I'm saying? Like, it's a little bit, that's part of the conversation where I don't think the value you're getting for IFA pool money at this point, especially since everybody signed their guys, is going to be high enough for it to matter. So you're best off going into the Asian market, the Pacific Rim, and trying to see if you can land like a teenager out of Korea or Japan and just get somebody. Earl just had a tweet, the funniest possible outcome is the Yankee talker signing with the Yankees. I've not been able to get that thought on my head all week. Well, it's not going to happen, unfortunately. So, yeah. What about a pivot, Bo, second, Jazz, left field, then 1 year, see if Jones, Jason are going to develop. They're not going to put Jazz in left field, but let's say Jazz was like a capable left fielder. Let's say it was a 0 in left field. So, like, not a positive, not a negative. That would be, I think, better than signing Bellinger. Because I think Bo is at second base not going to be a good defender, but not going to be as bad as he is at shortstop. I think Jazz also is a good hitter. I think Bo is a better hitter straight up than Bellinger is. Chat, we agree that he's a better hitter, right? Everything Yanks, I don't think Jazz can play left field. I'm just hypothetically, like, if he could, yeah, that'd be great. The problem is that he can't probably, or I don't think he wants to. Remember, this is Jazz's walk year, and Jazz Chisholm is a pretty, like, he's pretty much, like, best suited financially for him to play second base. It would be kind of grimy for them to do that. And you might go, it doesn't matter, he's under contract, like, and I'll just adjust my seat a little bit. You might go, Ryan, like, who cares? Like, if you're the Yankees, why do you care about what a guy who's under contract and is contractually obligated to play baseball for you? Why would you care about that? Well, it affects your relationship with players. It affects your relationship with agents. Teams are and players are cognizant of how teams treat them. Let me give you an example. Masataka Yoshida. The Red Sox would probably be best suited just shipping him off to some random city that he doesn't want to be in. But if they do that, that's going to hurt their relationship with the Japanese market. So think of it like this, guys. If you were to trade, let's say the Red Sox were to trade Masataka Yoshida to the Pirates and he doesn't want anything to do with Pittsburgh, that kind of treatment is going to be noticed by people who aren't represented by his agent in Japan. And that is going to affect the Red Sox ability to sign Japanese free agents, because the same question they'll ask the team is, I'm sorry, are you going to do to me what you did to Yoshida? So, yeah. Now, how does this relate to Jazz? Okay. With Jazz Chisholm's agency is pretty powerful. It's Rock Nation. It is Jay-Z's agency. That's not a non-notable agency. I can pull up the list of players involved with this, but like, again, I can't really understate the fact that this is a Jay-Z agency. Like, that matters in all this. That does. Albert Pujols was represented by them. C.J. Abrams. We'll pull up. We'll go to window capture. We'll look at this together. We got a super chat here. We need to sign the Astros International Scouting Director, JXV88. Thank you. Really appreciate it. And Everything Yanks points out Juan Soto was pissed because of the VIP box seats. Yeah, exactly. Good idea. That's a good point. Look at Bregman needing no trade from Boston. Yeah, Devers hurt for sure. That is 100%. Marcus, that is 1,000,000% influenced by the Betts and Devers thing. They can't take the Red Sox word on that because the Red Sox have traded these guys before. And I'm going to get to your question, John Bloom. Don't get me wrong. I will get there. I just want to get through this point first. The players represented here are fairly consequential people. Some of these players you're going to want to sign one day, potentially. Probably the one that stands out to me the most is maybe you really like Jesus Luzardo in a year and you want to sign him. Maybe Jeremiah Estrada, you want to trade for him. We actually have had a lot of clients here. Maybe C.J. Abrams becomes available and can play like the infield for you one day. Brady Montgomery's a really good draft pick. Obviously, Pujols, one of the most influential players of all time. This is not good if you treat him really poorly. So it's not to laugh at you guys for going, you guys, you're stupid and you're dumb because you want Jazz to play the outfield. No, because I would say, like, these are not things that you hear talked about. We don't talk about these things because it's not very sexy to talk about. But this is why I like live streams, because I can just kind of like free flow and we can talk about things kind of as it is. But the player-team relationship is important and you have to keep that intact. So, yeah, bringing back Jazz, Marcus, even if the Yankees have no intention of doing that, burning that relationship like that publicly is not a good idea to do. So the player-team relationship matters. Your actions towards the team and player matter. You have to keep that relationship in play. It's why, hey, the Yankees are kind of playing a little bit of a scary game with Scott Boras, because Scott Boras is a very influential agent. They are kind of firing back at him and using his own negotiation tactics against him. I don't believe that that'll, but I think they're doing it because they know one thing and one thing only about Scott Boras. Scott Boras is going to take the highest offer. So they can say whatever they want about Scott Boras, but as long as they offer his client the best deal, his client will take that deal. So this is a business, folks. You have to keep good business relations, but you also have to keep good player relations. Sorry, I realized I pressed the wrong button. There's a mute button. I have a mute button now, but I'm sorry. Anywho, so let's talk about the question real quick from John Bloom, and it's about Chase Hampton. Now, Chase Hampton has spent a lot of his life on the IL in the pros. When it was 2022, man, this guy was a demon. 2023 Chase Hampton was one of my favorite prospects I've ever gotten to watch. I got to watch him pitch in person a couple times. I got to watch him do his thing, and if you look at these numbers from 2023. Man, 33% strikeout rate, big swinging strike rate, big strikeout to walk rate. I mean, this guy was nasty. 20 vert fastballs he was able to throw. He sat like 18, 19 vert. It's going to translate to more like 17 vert with a four-seamer, low slot four-seam fastball, flat fastball, which is good for the approach angle. Good secondaries. He just hasn't been the same since, and that's really sad. And by hasn't been the same since, he's just been hurt. Like, he made 2 starts. He was probably hurt during these 2 starts. He looked decent in single A. Like, he looked like himself in single A, I thought. The stuff wasn't 100% back, but I thought he looked solid. If he can come back and show the stuff we saw in his previous days, and Cam Schultz is a good point, even if they can make him a good reliever, I think he can be a really nasty pitcher. I really like Chase Hampton as a prospect, and I'm excited to see him come back in 2026. Also, being put on the 40-man roster is not insignificant because he's on the IL. So the Yankees protected themselves from a team plucking him and putting him on the IL. They felt that was a possibility. They had every right to feel that that was a possibility. JXV88, I can't believe that John Heyman can just out here telling contract details. Isn't it supposed to be non-disclosed? Screw him and Scott Boras. First and foremost, the Yankees, I want to thank you for the super chat, but secondly, the Yankees ended up, I'm going to end this poll here. The Yankees were actually the team that leaked the offer initially. I'm kind of shocked that Peralta Bellinger won. I really thought that I'm surprised that that won. I'm a little bit shocked. Not saying it's like you guys are dumb or anything. I'm just saying I'm kind of shocked. I expected, Tucker's the bigger name. So, but I think it's close. Anywho, when you look at the Yankees, right? They leaked this offer to the Athletic most likely. I'd be stunned if Bellinger leaked it. Now, let me kind of take you through what I know about this situation. There was smoke last weekend that the New York Yankees thought they were going to get a deal done with Cody Bellinger. With Cody Bellinger. The reason the Yankees felt like they were going to probably get a deal done is because they had prepared this 5-year, $155 million offer. Because the New York Yankees thought they were going to bring this 5-year, $155 million offer and that Boras would take it, they were confident this deal would get done. Now, again, just that's the timeline. That's how they felt last weekend when they were going into bringing in that offer, or when they brought up that offer. I guess that was last week. Once Boras said, I'm not doing it. We are not signing this deal. We want 7 years. The Yankees tried to add some other bells and whistles, and they grew very frustrated. When they grew very frustrated, they then took this offer and made it public. They had a media tour, a very public media tour. Scott Boras is being unreasonable. We are being very reasonable. He wants X amount of money. Remember, Bob Klapisch is one of the first people to kind of like leak that Soto was leaving. Same with Bill Madden. And they had gotten a lot of like, he's being crazy. They better wonder when they're going to walk away. You heard Buster Olney report that they are operating under the assumption that he's going to leave. They didn't have serious interest in Kyle Tucker. They're not one of the finalists. They don't have serious interest in Bo Bichette. They're not really involved there. So I kind of look at all this in the timeline and the way that they operated this. They leaked that initial offer. They were very upset. The Yankees have had sour grapes towards Scott Boras over the Soto thing. They felt that they were used in negotiations. And they feel like they're currently being used in negotiations right now. They currently feel like they've made a very strong offer, and they have no reason to not have that offer taken. And that they feel like Boras is just dragging this out, and they don't like that. But from Scott Boras' perspective, and you might go, Ryan, the evil Scott Boras. The Yankees are so right. These absolute idiots. Okay. Let's look at this from Scott Boras' perspective. Remember, we are all, I think, all of us are either employees or have been employees before. The New York Yankees have interest in one big free agent. That's Cody Bellinger. They do not have interest in Kyle Tucker. He will sign, and the Yankees will have not made a bid. Bo Bichette, it'll likely be a similar situation. He will sign, and the Yankees will have not made a bid. And it's possible, potentially likely, that the New York Yankees are not going to care about this player. And you can say the Yankees are right. Yes, the Yankees are right in their assessment of Bellinger. But you could even say that the offer to Bellinger is insane in the first place. Anywho, if you're Scott Boras and you know that the New York Yankees have no serious interest in signing any other big free agent other than your player, your client, why would you not drag this out as far as possible and try and hold their arm behind them? The same way the Yankees are trying to do the same thing. The Yankees are trying to get the public to go, Cody Bellinger is crazy and Scott Boras is crazy. The same way that Scott Boras is saying, hey, you have no other play. You have no other play than what I'm doing right now. You have no other play than my guy. So you better not pretend that you've got another play, because you don't. And we're going to drag this out until we get what we want, because you want my guy and you don't want anybody else. If your employer told you in negotiations, we really want you back. We really need you back. We're not going to meet your demands, but we really want you back. And you go, okay, if you don't meet our demands and we leave, what is your game plan? And they tell you, well, we're going to do this, that, and the third, but you hear from Birdie, a very reliable Birdie, and they act in a way that indicates you're the only guy they're really willing to bring in. You're the only person they're really willing to spend a lot of money on and bring in and fill that role without getting significantly worse. You would go, I'm going to drag this out as long as I can. Because they already have a good enough offer. But they're going to wait and see if they can get a better offer, because they can. Bellinger signing today, Bellinger signing in 2 weeks, Bellinger signing in 3 weeks. It doesn't affect him. The only time it starts to affect him is if you report to spring training or you don't report to spring training because you don't have an offer. So the Yankees, I think, are operating in this correctly if they want the player back. They've been aggressive. They've been determined. They've shown a great deal of intent in bringing the player back. But Boras, in his job, which is to get Cody Bellinger as much money as possible, he's doing his job, because the Yankees are not going to rescind this offer. They're going to keep this offer out there until Bellinger rejects it, or until Bellinger signs elsewhere. This offer will be out there, and it will be there to be taken. The Yankees will sign the player at that price point. They have made that known. The Yankees are willing to give the player an opt-out. That is known. The Yankees are willing, every time the Yankees concede, unless it's 7 years, Boras is going to keep asking for more. You know what I'm saying? So again, we have to understand this is this is Bellinger's CBA negotiated right. This is not the defense of Scott Boras. The same way this isn't the defense of the Yankees. This is just giving you both perspectives, because at that point you could figure out who's right or who's wrong. You know, again, it's like what we talked about earlier with the financials and Tucker and Bellinger. You don't have to like it. You don't have to agree with it. You don't have to believe it. Zachary, thank you for that. Thank you, Zachary, for deleting that message. But you do have to understand it. Because if you don't understand it, you can't disagree with it or agree with it. You can't agree or disagree with something you don't understand. Let's take some more questions here. By the way, if you guys are here, like, subscribe, turn on that notification bell. Like. There's a lot of you here. I really appreciate it. Over 350 people. Holy cow. Let's get to the 100 like threshold. We're at 77 right now. Can we get there? Sorry, I got to use this mute button. I just coughed and I don't know I'm going to cough. I'm going to get comfortable using this mute button. There's some conversation about Grisham's no trade clause. Okay, Grisham has a no trade clause through June 15th. So the Yankees have to get his express written consent to be traded. And that is the result of giving him the qualifying offer. So the no trade clause is very harsh. You can word this two different ways. No trade clause, or you have to ask him to be traded. Point is, he has to consent to being traded until June 15th. But they can legally trade him if he approves to the trade. Yes, Cam Schlittler, Steve, they both got it down. Yes, you have to approve of a trade. And Steve also makes a good point, since this is a good ballpark for him, it's fair to assume that it's got to be ballpark dependent on where he's willing to go. What's my record for people in chat? We once had like 10 grand on YouTube and Twitter. Also, Jose Reyes said something big coming. That's not nothing. I'm sorry. I think that Tucker is going to sign with the Mets right now. Like I think that's going to happen. Anywho, sorry. Are we still in play for Peralta? Yes, Brett. The recent reporting from Mark Feinsand is that we are still in on Peralta. We had talks about that. I'm so special. I was able to view the deleted message. I found it very offensive, even though I'll have this. Okay, bro. All right, Ryan. All right. I didn't know you were a dog like that. There's a world, even if unlikely, that they don't trade Jason Spencer for the sake of trading excess, right? There's a world where they stash Jason and Jones gets a decent feeling. Yeah, look. Cohen has clarified. We are waiting for a decision. That's all I know. Oh, okay. All right. Yes. Okay, let's put... What am I doing? Why don't I just put these tweets up? What's wrong with me? I'm going to put this tweet up right here. And I hate Twitter ads because they put up really weird ads. And, like, I've gotten... if you scroll back earlier, there's a really weird ad on one of them that I do not second the message of. For those who don't understand the Pope reference, we are waiting for the decision. That's all we know. So this is a decision that we do not know of yet. There's no decision on Kyle Tucker. And Jose Reyes, I believe... We'll pull this up. Jose Reyes. Something big is coming. All right. So we'll see. We'll see. Belly resigns with the Yanks. That would be a big thing that's coming. Yes, that would be if it is, but I don't see it happening right now. It hasn't happened yet. Why haven't the Yankees offered a contract to Tucker? They do not want to pay Kyle Tucker. Whether that is... And the reason that they don't want to pay Kyle Tucker is because they want to get Cody Bellinger back, and they believe that the cost difference between Cody Bellinger and Kyle Tucker is very, like, to them, it's not worth the money. Which, look, I disagree with. I don't agree with it, but they agree with it, and I don't run a baseball team. They run a baseball team. Yeah, Mike, that's a good point. They were just waiting on that decision. Yeah, that's a good point. I think I read into that too much. Probably did. Would it be surprised if the Blue Jays are aggressive for Bellinger if they don't get Tucker? I ran down this a little bit earlier in the stream, and I'll gladly break this down again, Brandon. Let's look at the Blue Jay roster. Okay. Also, okay, anywho. Sorry. Look at their outfield. Now, I think the Blue Jays are willing to sign Kyle Tucker because Kyle Tucker is a very good baseball player. Kyle Tucker is a better player than Cody Bellinger. He's a middle of the order bat. In order to do this, they will have to either trade Anthony Santander, very hard to do, underwater contract, he sucks. Trade Dalton Varsho, their only center fielder on the roster, not going to happen, even though he's a year away from free agency. Trade George Springer, 1 year away from free agency, consider that unlikely. Trade Nathan Lucas, probably the most likely, but he's not even a starter. So you have to trade one of three guys, and maybe you could trade Barger. Maybe. But you're going to trade Barger for Bellinger? I don't know. I just feels like really weird for them to do that. I don't think there's a obvious need for the Blue Jays here. And Brian Batch went to Super Chat. Thank you, man. Who would you want to sign this year, even if it cost them the signing of Skubal next year? Tucker's the only guy I would do that for. And I got to say this. The part of the Peralta stuff that I think matters, and people don't think about this enough, the Yankees, I hope, the Mets, I imagine, are not players or teams who are going to be players in the Peralta thing. They're not going to, how do I put this? They're not going to sign Peralta with the intent of extending him. right? You're not going to sign him with the intent of extending him. Why would you sign Peralta before free agency even begins to a contract when you could just, I don't know, wait until Skubal hits the market? So I do believe there's a little bit of curiosity on my end because I think the Yankees and the Mets are the two teams I'd bet on for Peralta. Why would, because they have the most minor league, upper level minor league young MLB pitching on their roster to do it. They're not going to pay this guy with the intent of extending him. They're going to pay him with the intent of losing him in free agency and signing Tarek Skubal and getting a qualifying offer pick. So probably part of their offers, probably part of why the Brewers haven't made a trade yet. Realistically speaking here, what's the best pivot in your opinion for the loss of Bellinger? Valdez, opt out late in contract, go trade for an outfielder, and go from there. Yeah, go from there. That's what I would do. Set up a reliever? Yeah, because I'd build a super rotation and then get maybe a platoon guy for Dominguez, maybe trade for Luis Robert. I don't know. That's probably what I would do. The wicked 50 cal, Skubal isn't going to be a Yankee. Hal can't compete for Skubal when the Dodgers and Mets will be interested in him as well. I don't think they're going to land him, but I definitely think they're going to compete. Let's look at the track record of the best free agents who have been available in the last decade. The best free agent they have shown zero interest in. They did technically show interest in Machado. They met with him. That is interest to an extent. But the best free agent that the New York Yankees have not been interested in is either Bryce Harper or, at the time, Anthony Rendon, Kyle Tucker. Point is, the Skubal level free agent. Skubal's a better free agent than Harper was. In my opinion, he was a better free agent. His platform year is going to be a lot better probably, and Skubal was ranked higher across the league than Harper probably was, considering that Harper was a declining quote unquote outfielder. Although I think that was just him not really wanting to risk it for his body. The Yankees, Machado, again, they met with Machado. So I personally believe that Machado is someone they technically no. You know what, Wicked Cal? Seager is easily the best free agent they haven't tried for. Ohtani, they also didn't try for, but that's a little bit different because they tried for him in 2017. They tried to trade for him 2 different times, and they kept getting no's on Ohtani being willing to play there. So that is why they just didn't in 24. They had Soto to worry about. They just not had time to worry about a guy who wasn't going to be available for them. But they have technically pursued Ohtani when he was made available, and they did not have knowledge that he would be that opposed. Soto, they had interest in Soto. They had interest in Yamamoto. They had interest in Cole. They had interest in trying to think of other top. Once Skubal's not just a normal free agent. Skubal, I think, is one of the best free agents that'll be available of the last 10 years. Freeman's great. Don't get me wrong, but Freeman's not better than Skubal. I need people to understand where my barometer is. Tarek Skubal, my cutoff of the Ohtani, Yamamoto, Cole, Judge, and Soto class. Tarek Skubal is at the very least, as good of a free agent as Cole, if not better. He was a back-to-back Cy Young winner. I understand Cy Youngs aren't special. Cole should have had a Cy Young in 18. But Skubal is, at the very least, as good of a free agent as Garrett Cole. Arguably a better free agent than Yamamoto. So, Max Scherzer, Mike, that's a really good poll. Max Scherzer's, the best free agent that they have not been, the only free agent of this caliber they have not been in on. And that was for a Yankee team that was rebuilding and a pitcher in Scherzer who had no interest in signing with the Yankees. Carlos Beltran, I was 5 when that happened. No, I was 3 or 2. So the Yankees go after these creme de la creme, beautiful, unbelievably, undeniably, just so elite players. They always go after those guys. So I have every reason to believe that they will go after... No, Skubal's not a bigger free agent than Soto. Soto's the best free agent. Soto, Ohtani, and Yamamoto... Or it's not Yamamoto, sorry. Soto, Ohtani are the 2 best free agents to come out of the last decade. Maybe 2 of the best free agents ever. Judge, we didn't know at the time because he would have that really good 2022, but we didn't know that was his median outcome, essentially, for the next 3 years. But Judge is one of the best free agents of the last... Of history. He's one of the best players to ever hit free agency and not get extended beforehand. Ohtani, Soto, best, the same thing. Cole is the best pitching free agent to hit the market of the last 20 years, arguably. Skubal will be in that tier, in that category. So I expect the Yankees to be in. I expect the Yankees to show interest. And my point in all this is, if the Yankees are going to pay Freddie Peralta, let's say, and extend him before the season even starts, there's no chance the takedown price for Peralta isn't any lower than like 180 for 6 or like 200 for 7. Cease got 200 for 7. I know there's deferrals in there, but Cease is not a better pitcher than Freddie Peralta, probably. Freddie Peralta is a more consistent pitcher, a more durable pitcher, a better pitcher. Not more durable, just a better pitcher. He's just better, not more durable. That's not true. Confuse him with a different guy. Better, more consistent, just as durable, right? So there's no shot he signs for like a team-friendly deal again, right? Like, he's got to be signing like a 200s. The takedown price has to be 1 year away from free agency, 7 years, $200 million. Brian Basher, no, Soto is a generational talent. He's a generation. He's a 26-year-old with Juan Soto's 26 years old and has 42.3 wins above replacement, 244 home runs, and 1,000 hits in his career. Juan Soto's going to end up with like 2,600, 2,700 hits despite playing a COVID year. Soto might end up with 3,000 hits. If he picks up, what is he averaging hits-wise? He's averaging about 150 a year. Again, the problem is the league average batting average is down in the floor. Plays 4 years. He's probably going to end up with like 2,800, 2,900. He's going to end up with, he's got 244 home runs right now. Say he hits another 400 home runs. Might hit 600 home runs. Let's say he hits 500 home runs. Let's say he hits 550 home runs or 600 home runs and has 90 to 100 WAR. That's an all-time great player. Sorry, he's an all-time great player. I'm sorry. Yeah, just because Judge and Ohtani are not generational. They're once in a lifetime. Like, generational means once in a generation. Ohtani's not a generational player. Ohtani is one of the greatest baseball players who will ever live, is the most unique baseball player who has ever lived. Aaron Judge is the best right-handed hitter of all time. No, peak for peak. Nobody's peaked higher than Aaron Judge as a right-handed hitter. So there's no debate about this. This is like, Soto is not a once-in-a-lifetime player. You'll see another player as good as Juan Soto in your lifetime. You will never see a player as good that does what Ohtani does in your lifetime. You'll never see a right-handed hitter as good as Aaron Judge at their peak in your lifetime, probably. Trout is generational. Trout is generational. Soto and Trout are going to retire very similar players talent-wise. Soto is going to have way more WAR, but Soto's going to be a better player talent-wise than Mike Trout. But they're in the same category of, like, generational. But Ohtani and Judge are one in a lifetime. Unicorns. They're not generational, disrespectful to these two guys. No steroids, from what we understand. No controversies, none of that. Just straight up, like, clean, elite ball players. You'll never see anything like those two, especially at the same time. Ever. Yeah, Zachary, 4th best OPS plus ever with a large amount of plate appearances. Dude, he has the best right-handed hitting season ever. It's the best right-handed hitter peak ever. Yes, Bonds is a once-in-a-lifetime player. He's a once-in-a-lifetime player. The reason Soto was paid more than Judge and Ohtani is because he hit the market at 26, or entering his age 26 season. If Aaron Judge had his 2017 year and then hit the market, he would have gotten $400 million. Harper got $300 million, and while Harper had insane peaks, he had come off of a year where he was a sub-3-win player, and he got $300 million because he's young. Young players just get more term and therefore get more money. More term equals more money. So, yeah, like, was Justin Verlander, when he signed his extension in 2017, a worse pitcher than, like, Max Fried, right, when he signed his deal with the Yankees? No, but he was older, so he got less term, so therefore he got less overall money. Do you think the technology and pitching and everything we know about science and baseball, that Ohtani could reappear in the future? Maybe there's another Ohtani that happens, maybe, but he won't be as good as Ohtani. Maybe there's another hitter-pitcher guy, but they're never as good as Ohtani. Ever. Ever. Soto would be the best player of a lot of generations. Soto's going to end up potentially having the most WAR of any player to debut in the 21st century. That's a generational player. Sorry, it just is. It just is. Giancarlo Stanton is a very good baseball player who's on the verge of being a Hall of Famer. That's where I think he is. Kershaw is a generational left-handed starting pitcher. Zachary. So I don't know why to rank him specifically, but he's a generational left-handed starting pitcher. He peaked as the best pitcher in baseball. He's one of the best pitchers of the 21st century. Aaron Judge is a better player than Soto, but Juan Soto will end up being a near 100 WAR player. There's a very good chance that Juan Soto is the player who has the most WAR of any player that debuted in the 21st century until I die. Very good chance. Very good chance. Like, I think Bobby Witt Jr. is a generational shortstop. Or at least playing like one. He's having a generational shortstop career. He's not the best player in baseball. He hasn't peaked as the best player in baseball yet. Yeah, just different. If Bellinger signs elsewhere as Tucker plan B, he's not signing with the Yankees. Tucker is not a plan B. You sign Tucker as your plan A. Could the Yankees ever trade Giancarlo Stanton? No, he has a no-trade clause, but I imagine that if he had didn't have a no-trade clause, it'd probably be easy to trade that contract because the LT would reset the luxury tax to about $12 million for the luxury tax hit, or like $50 million for the luxury tax hit for the team who acquired him. So if he didn't have a no-trade clause, I actually think he could get traded, but he's not, and I don't think they should trade him because why should you pay for him to play somewhere else? That's kind of my logic. A-Rod is one of the best players I've ever seen. He's a generational player. Generational player. You could argue he was a once-in-a-lifetime shortstop. You could argue that. You could argue that he was a once-in-a-lifetime shortstop. Yeah, that's the other thing. Players who debut at 19, Brandon, are just super rare. I don't think we're stretching the definition of generational here at all. Like Kershaw, Soto, Trout, generational. Ohtani, once-in-a-lifetime. Judge at his peak, once-in-a-lifetime. A-Rod, generational, arguably once in a lifetime. Depends on how you kind of view his peaks and adjust for steroids. Bonds, once in a lifetime. What would you give the Twins for Buxton, Ryan Jeffers trade? Warren, LaGrange, and Escara. Yeah. Judge to transition in DH to protect his legs. Well, in 2 years, Stan's a free agent, and we are at the point in Giancarlo Stanton's contract where the Yankees could DFA him if he doesn't play well. Like, if Giancarlo Stanton has a 680 OPS through 100 games, they can sign him. No, they can cut him. Yeah. So they could just cut him. Yeah. I'm sure the Dodgers have DH covered. They probably don't. Yeah, they don't want Stan. That's the only team I think he'd waive the no-trade clause for. Can you imagine A-Rod and Jeter playing on the same team together? Oh, wait. Yeah, special, man. Remember when a large faction of this fan base wanted Eugenio Suarez? A few months later, it feels like he might be unsigned by the time camp breaks. I do want to be fair, Alex. The fact that he was going to be a rental is important. You would have only committed to him for half a year. Now, there were people who were telling me, I would have, like, I remember there was like that report that the Yankees were going to try and trade for like Suarez, Kelly, and like a reliever, and Schlittler was going to be part of that deal. And there were Diamondbacks fans like, I wouldn't do that. Like, just being stupid about Cam Schlittler. There were Mariners fans. We have 3 prospects who are pitchers who are better than that. Like, fellas, I want you to know something. I'm not saying I know Yankee prospects so well that I'll never lead you astray. I will. I will lead you astray on some guys. There are some misses I'm going to have, both pessimistic and optimistic. And I'll also tell you this. When I really like a prospect, like when I like love a prospect, like when I'm like, I wouldn't trade him, I'm saving that for a reason. It's because the talent is ridiculous. It's because the talent is stupid good. Cam Schlittler, people do not remember that Cam Schlittler was throwing 98 miles per hour in AAA. There were so many people who were just ignorant to the fact that he was doing that. Yeah, he's like a back-end top 100 prospect. Cam Schlittler, when he debuted, should have been a universal like top 30 prospect in baseball, top 40. Just crazy to me. Crazy to me that people couldn't see that this guy was like let's do this. We're gonna do this. We're gonna pull up his pitch mix. Is Weathers better than Schlittler? No. How come no one is interested in Zach Gallen, the qualifying offer, my friend? If Gallen didn't have a qualifying offer, I'd want to sign him. It's better than nothing. He's better than Lucas Giolito, man. But I'm not willing to sign him with the I'm not going to give up draft picks to sign Zach Gallen, and no one wants to give up draft picks to sign Zach Gallen. So yeah, and I would be pretty upset if we did that. I mean, like how do I put this? If the Yankees sign Zach Gallen and they sign Cody Bellinger, like, are they bad? No, but like I would prefer them like not give up the QO. You know what I mean? I'd prefer that, not give up the QO if you're not going to sign Tucker. Anywho. Let's pull this up here. Fellas, this was somehow not universally considered the number one prospect in the Yankee system pitching-wise. This was considered, it's like a back-end top 100. Look at this, man. How is this considered that? Just crazy to me. Crazy to me. Yeah, you can absolutely hope and aspire for more than just those guys. Yeah, Zach Gallen is just not. He's just not particularly impressive to me. He's very underwhelming to me. That's just my TLDR. Ryan, they need to change up the CBA. Yeah, the Yankees need, not the Yankees. Major League Baseball needs to fix the qualifying offer. The qualifying offer sucks. I'm sorry. It's so counterintuitive. It doesn't actually increase the odds of people coming back. Cheap teams give them to their players, and then that player doesn't even get a real offer from their cheap team. And I'm not saying the Diamondbacks are cheap, but that's kind of my point here. And then we just end up looking at free agents that should get signed, and they don't get signed. How, like, dude, how, right? Like, how? How is it that Zach Gallen can't get any? Zach Gallen is a pitcher who should get signed, and should get signed to a fun team. Zachary, I agree. Qualifying offers should only benefit teams, not hurt the large market teams. Yeah, like, you should get draft picks for this, but you shouldn't lose draft picks. Zach Gallen isn't special, but he had a league average expected FIP, a league average skill interactive ERA. He's a league average-ish pitcher, in my opinion, right now, who, to his credit, makes every single start. And if you give him the right lab, maybe he goes back to throwing 95, 96. Like, he's a year removed from being a number 2 caliber starter. He's a year removed from striking out over 25% of batters faced. He's a year removed from being a very good pitcher. And he's 29 years old, will be 30. You mean it, or he's 30, he's going to turn 31 next August. Do people mean to tell me that you wouldn't want to sign Zach Gallen to like a 2-year deal? If the Yankees signed Zach Gallen to a 2-year deal at $38 million and there wasn't 2 draft picks attached, I don't think anyone would be like thrilled. Like, oh my God, what a great signing. But I think we'd all sit back and go, okay, the Yankees got better. Like, you sign him, you trade Luis Heel for like a bat. Like, maybe you trade him for like a shortstop. Maybe you trade like Elmer and another guy for maybe you can get like a Horner type. Yeah, Gallen to the Rangers would be fun. Gallen to the Cubs would be fun. Like, there are just guys who would be fun. But there just isn't any incentive to give up draft picks for Zach Gallen, man. Ryan, awesome work as always. Thoughts on Ascara, Lalane, or Selvage and Hurd for Joey Bart? That's a good question. So Joey Bart, pretty sure the defense isn't great, and that's like part of the conversation here. We're going to wrap up. I totally just lost track of time. We're going to wrap up in the next like a 10-ish minutes, so keep getting your questions in. Yeah, Bart, defensively not great, but I think you and I can agree that, we'll take a league average defensive outcome, which is, I mean, if you're a -3 FRV catcher who gets 83 starts there, like, you're fine. Like, you're a league average defensive player. You're nothing to cry about. Against lefties, this past year, 152 WRC plus. Year prior, 175. Career, 110. Hits the ball ridiculously hard. Can play a little first base if needed. I think that Bart would be fun. But I will say, I mean, I'm having to trade, like, Ascara plus. Like, I wouldn't want to trade Hurd for this. But if I can trade Ascara and, like, a Selvage, I'd do that. I'd do that. So, yeah. Yeah. Hall of Fame question here. I like this. Ryan, this year's Hall of Fame class of guys who appear on the first ballot has to be the worst class ever. Truly the most elite group of Hall of good players I've ever seen. Yeah, I don't believe that the New York Yankees should be the New York Yankees are going to have a lot of representation in this, but they have some representation on like the new guys, but none of them should get in. None of these guys are really good. I think Cole Hamels is like a fun player. I think Cole Hamels is the worst. How do I put this? Like one of the worst Hall of Famers that could get in. Like he'd be one of the worst Hall of Famers immediately, but he wouldn't be the worst, and he'd be pretty good. He's a pretty good pitcher. He has the peak. I like the peak years that he has. I prefer him to Burley. Like I think Cole Hamels is a more interesting Hall of Fame candidate than Burley. I like Burley. Like I don't think you should be against. I don't think you should hate. Like Mark Burley being in the Hall of Fame wouldn't like degrade the Hall of Fame. There are worse pitchers who are in. But for like Cole Hamels, the peak for me is really important. Cole Hamels from 2010 to 2014, 5 years, 3 ERA, 30 starts every single year. Yeah, like he's about as good as Jack Morris. And Jack Morris is in, and he's about a 50 to 60 WAR pitcher, and there aren't going to be a lot of pitchers who end up having better careers than him that come on the ballot in the next decade. Cole Hamels was the sixth best pitcher in baseball from 2010 to 2014. He poked pretty high. I think I have bronchitis. I think I had a cold, and sometimes I get like a long cough after that. I had a cold the weekend that Edward Cabrera, that thing happened with the Yankees where there was a lot of smoke. But like I only cough a lot when I talk a lot, which is just like where I'm at. I could have bronchitis, I guess. All right, like, but I don't have like fatigue, shortness of breath, chest aches, mucus changes, flu symptoms. I don't know. Maybe it is. I don't know. I'm not a doctor. Maybe I'd go get that checked. I don't have the whistling sound when I breathe. Yeah, none of that. All right. Yep. I think I'm good on bronchitis. I've had this happen to me before where I just have a decently long cough. So yeah. David Justice should be a Hall of Famer. Nah, I disagree. I understand the postseason got Morrison. I'm just saying, like, I personally believe it's a little bit different. You see, John, I didn't smoke today. I don't smoke. Cigs, I'm not a cigs guy. Cigs are too addictive for me to want that. I don't want to be addicted to anything because addiction is expensive and also not good for you, I guess. Yeah, I think I have post-nasal drip, man. It's kind of where I'm at. Yeah. Get a Zoom doctor appointment, Ryan. Yeah, maybe go see urgent care. We'll see. Doctors are busy and be in chats. No, I disagree. They should be here. That's exactly what they should be. But with that being said, let's get some final questions in here. Let's just keep scrolling up. Doesn't Hamels have a World Series MVP? I think he does. John Boy said Miami wanted Dominguez, Lewis for Cabrera. Yeah, apparently that Hubs thing was just wrong. Like I have it on pretty credible information. It's just wrong. And when you look at a Dominguez Lewis offer, like I'm not going to put myself in a situation where I have given all my leverage to Scott Boras just to bring in Edward Cabrera. Like it's not my thing, me personally. I like Edward Cabrera, but I'd prefer, again, I'm just not a believer that you should trade guys. You shouldn't be trading Jason Dominguez to make this happen. You just shouldn't be. Again, that's just my opinion. Didn't Bernie Williams make a lot less errors, give Jason a chance? Like maybe, yeah. Like I want to make sure. I want to make something clear. I don't think Jason shouldn't get at all a chance. I don't even think the Yankees should have to trade Jason. The Yankees should consider keeping Jason if he ends up. They should keep Jason if there's nothing there for him. And if Luisio doesn't, if Freddie Peralta, if it doesn't cost you Jason Dominguez, you should just go get him without trading Jason. Then you should keep Jason because Stan's going to get hurt and you're going to get playing time for him and all that stuff. You like to avoid addiction, yet you know the social security number and favorite color of every Yankees prospect. That's different, though, because that is obsession. There's something wrong with me, and that's okay. I guess it's a good point, right? Like, I guess I just don't have room for another one. Yeah. A little za won't hurt, Ryan. Hey, I have never, Ryan Garcia does not endorse the usage, drinking of alcohol or the consumption of any foreign substances. Yeah, I don't condone any of it. Could it just be we panic so much that by September we're sitting in first place again? Hopefully, man. Tonight's stream has been generational, but not once in a lifetime. Generational is a big compliment. I agree. This is definitely not a once in a lifetime stream. It has to be a big transaction. Like the day that Soto got traded, that was a once in a lifetime stream. The Ryan Weathers stream was not a once in a lifetime stream. Yeah. The Yankees need a fourth outfield that can play center field. I would like that. Thanks for the stream, Ryan. Keep up the good work. What are the chances we get Scooble? Low. But I want them to be at least in. Ranger, you like that? I'm glad you like that. I'm glad you like that message. Feeling judges have a martini. I hope you know how much I'm kidding. Like I am a 21-year-old. All right, so I can say things, but I'm not going to because I don't know how monetization works. What's your favorite feasible bullpen trade target? Garrett Clevenger. I freaking love Garrett Clevenger, man. I freaking love him. You remember what happened last live? Spit some bars. I can't rap. What is your guys' obsession with me rapping? I can't rap. I don't know how to rap. I can't rap. I can't. Are we getting Bo? We're not getting Bo. I don't think we're getting Tucker. Yeah, I agree. We're not getting Tucker. Team USA stacked. Okay, I'm going to make a concession I usually don't make. I'm going to make a concession I don't make. Team USA is a lot better than Team DR. And I expect, because of that talent gap, for obviously, for Team USA to get upset by Team DR in glorious fashion as the U.S. burns in flames in the World Baseball Classic Final, as Fernando Tatis Jr. and old friend Juan Soto and all these guys ball out and destroy the United States pitching staff. That is what's going to happen in this World Baseball Classic. Fellas, if you ever thought I'm going to concede the fact that the Dominican Republic is going to win this thing, you are crazy. You are crazy. Crazy. If the Red Sox sign Suarez, they're easily the East champions. Disagree. Based on what we do. We'll see. I'm not hurrying up and offering Belly 6 years. Not happening. I'm not going to yell boo USA. I feel like that could have some sentiments that are not exactly what people are going to want to necessarily hear and can imply opinions that I'm not going to publicly share. But in the sake of specifically the World Baseball Classic, yes, I'm booing every country that is not Team DR involved in the tournament, specifically as a team, referring to them as a baseball team. I am not making any statements that are anything other than baseball. How can you not be romantic about baseball? How can you not be? Unfortunately, yeah, Japan is just really freaking good. That's unfortunate. They're so good. I think we're getting Bellinger for 5 years. I agree. Is Team USA poor? If so, thank you, Zod, for the super chat. I don't think Team USA is poor, man. I think if you looked at the average net worth of all these guys, it is pretty crazy. How much money they probably have. Am I the only one to notice our ex-Yankees Clint Frazier's YouTube channel? Yeah, it's a YouTube channel. And, it's cool stuff, I guess. I mean, I think it's up to your opinion. I'm not going to tell you what to watch or not watch, but good for a player to get into the media career, right? Yeah, it's fun. ¿Hablas español? Asks Rocky Rivera. Yo puedo hablar un poquito de español. Mi español no es bueno. Yo puedo entender español, pero no puedo hablar bueno. Yeah, there we go. That's not a great sentence. I'm pretty sure my usage of words relative to the subject is inaccurate, but boom. Is Hal the owner of Team USA? If so, then yes. He is not. He is not the owner. But yeah, we're going to start wrapping up soon here. We really appreciate it, guys. Thank you guys so much for being here. And no, Ryan Beck, that was not a clever diplomatic way of saying it sucks. I just haven't watched a lot of it, so I can't really speak on it being great or not, Donde está el baño? My bathroom's somewhere in my house. I'm not going to point to it. I'm not going to give away the schematics of my house. It's not going to happen. But yeah. So yeah, we're obviously going to sign Justin Verlander and Gary Sanchez and call it a winter. That'd be pretty funny. Anywho, really appreciate it, guys. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. You guys can subscribe, turn on that notification bell to check out the channel support the channel. Helps to do better in the algorithm. And yeah, I'm Dominican. Both my parents are Dominican, so yeah, I'm Dominican. I was born in the United States, but my parents are both Dominican. So yeah, dad born in DR. Mom was born in the United States and she moved to DR like very young. So yeah. Yo, kiddo, Taco Bell. That's all I want. Honest to God, bro, dude. Honest to God, Taco Bell sounds great. Sounds great right now. Anywho, thank you guys so much for tuning in. We appreciate you guys here. Like, subscribe, turn on that notification bell, and we'll see you guys in the next